fats, sugars, proteins, minerals. This yummy sandwich contains all this and more to be absorbed through our intestines into the blood. For type 2 diabetes sufferers though, high blood glucose levels can be dangerous. Glucose transport into the blood is facilitated by the SGLT family of transporters. SGLT1 is responsible for primary absorption from the small intestine to the blood, while SGLT2 allows for glucose reabsorption after the blood is filtered in the kidney. Floritin, a natural product found in apples, blocks these channels and so has been used to lower blood glucose. But because blocking SGLT1 causes harmful side effects, selective derivatives needed to be made. 3 such drugs are now on the market, all having a strong preference of SGLT2 over SGLT1. However, one of them causes additional beneficial effects.
My postdoc actually looked up some of the existing papers on canagliflozin, and he realised that it had effects on lipid metabolism, and whereas it was thought to be simply an inhibitor of glucose reuptake by the kidney, and we couldn't quite see why it should have these effects on lipid metabolism. So he thought that maybe it might activate AMPK like metformin, and sure enough it did.
AMPK is a cellular energy sensor, something like a policeman at a crossroads. It promotes anabolic pathways when the ATP-AMP ratio is high and catabolic pathways when it is low. It does this by monitoring AMP levels. When there is a lot of energy, ATP is high and AMP is low, and so AMPK is inactive. But when the levels drop and the ratio flips, AMPK becomes active. ATP is like an energy drink made by the mitochondria via a proton gradient. It is known that metformin inhibits complex 1 of the respiratory chain, which reduces ATP output. The cell uses the energy in ATP and generates an AMP byproduct. In high concentrations, this byproduct binds to a threonine residue on AMPK and activates the kinase. Once active, one of AMPK's effects is to inhibit ACC. ACC converts acetyl coenzyme A to malonyl coenzyme A, a building block in fatty acid synthesis. This is an energy requiring process, so AMPK terminates it when energy is low. This is well established with metformin. How do we know canagliflozin does the same? Tests have shown drops in ATP-AMP ratios and complex 1 inhibition when the drug was administered. But does that mean the effect on lipid synthesis is due to AMPK? Using mutant AMPK insensitive to AMP, synthesis continued until the cell ran out of ATP and so ACC had no more substrate. Or we can make ACC lacking the AMPK site, in which case AMPK was active but with no effects on lipid synthesis, which was once again terminated by depletion of ATP. In both cases, the cell produced even more lipid than usual. There are 2 fates for acetyl-CoA, lipid synthesis or the Krebs cycle. By inhibiting the respiratory chain and thus causing a build-up of reduced NADH cofactor, the Krebs cycle is blocked and all available acetyl-CoA redirected towards ACC and fat production. So that's canagliflozin. And while the other 2 also activated AMPK, they did so at concentrations unsuitable for treatment of live patients. Interestingly, Floritin was more like canagliflozin in this respect, but of course its effects on SGLT1 make it undesirable clinically. And there was yet another surprise when the effects of canagliflozin on glucose uptake were investigated.
This data suggested was that there was an effect on glucose uptake in the hectine 3 cells, but it was not mediated by inhibition of SGLT2 because dapagliflozin, which inhibits SGLT2, did not cause the same response.
Okay, so what do you think it is?
It may be that there is some effect on another glucose transporter which is involved in taking glucose up into the hectine 3 cells, which is not SGLT2.
The co-migration pattern suggested that GLUT1 may be the additional channel. That's all in vivo though, so what about in vitro? The researchers turned to mice. Canagliflozin activated AMPK in the liver. A rapid drop in RER showed a shift from carbohydrate to fat metabolism, but this was more a reaction to lower glucose availability, masking any possible effects on ACC. What does this mean then? Will canagliflozin join metformin in future diabetes treatments?
You may not see an additional benefit by adding metformin because it already has a metformin-like effect. There may be no need to use both drugs. It may be sufficient just to use canagliflozin alone.
Let's just hope that this new wonder drug will indeed make the lives of millions just a little bit brighter.